Recently, I decided to try critiquing dating profiles for short-form content, and well, my IG went kinda crazy. I hit over 2.5 million views total and gained over 1,400 followers in a month. Wish I could say the same for YouTube, but it's been flopping hard over here. So nothing's really changed about my life other than my phone blowing up every few seconds with some more likes, comments, and followers. But what this has really highlighted for me is that the discourse around modern dating and dating apps is more strained than ever. All I do in most of these reels that last under a minute is give objective feedback on how to improve the photos, prompts, and bios provided. I never attack the person within them, even if they're not objectively attractive. It wasn't until the third reel in which things started going crazy and the comments started flooding in. I also reposted the reel I made on Fishboy, the million swipe guy from an earlier video, as a trial reel, and that one blew past 1 million views in a few days. Some guys took the time to be a-holes and type up personal insults, which I learned to just block and move on from, but the rest of it turned into a war zone, and we're going to break down the 3 types of people who had the strongest reactions. So first, we got the black pillars. If you don't know what that means, good, but unfortunately, I gotta sell you things now. These guys are usually aged from high schoolers to guys in their 30s, and basically they believe that if you weren't born with good genetics, then life is meaningless. It's have looks or get cooked. And they don't lightly touch upon this either. Some guys go real deep and analyze your face in its entirety, such as your eye angle, cheek definition, and jawline. And they literally think it's pointless to improve if you're an undesirable race or if you're short. So when these types of guys ran into my content, they instantly started coming out with that doomer BS. Improve your photos? Nah, let's just say he's ugly. He's sub 5. The problem is his skull, a verbal dissection of his facial traits. Imagine if they dissected their own efforts with dating as much as this. You take a quick look at some of these guys themselves and you'll realize that these guys are all projecting. Some of them won't show themselves or have pathetic amounts of followers to be talking smack. But then you see Gaston-looking mofos with their jawlines or dudes that had surgery on their face. These types of guys would literally advise surgery before making any type of reasonable change, like taking some better pictures. And they all sound miserable AF. Black pillars only have the balls to call people ugly online, because if you were to return the favor in real life, you'd deal tons of emotional damage because they can't handle it. They want me to just call these guys I'm reviewing ugly and not provide any constructive feedback. I'm based Vincent, not hate Vincent. And I respect guys that ask for feedback 100 times more than guys that be hating for no reason. Seriously, these guys are the absolute worst when it comes to constructive criticism, because they have nothing constructive to offer. If you're ugly, you should just be told that you're ugly. But that's rich coming from guys that are absolutely disgusting on the inside. And they would be in absolute denial if guys used actionable advice that I provide to improve their results and become better than these internet trolls. Even this guy that I reviewed with a genetic disorder got 10 likes, and these guys have been real quiet since I said he's probably doing better than him. Next, we have women that impose their opinions as truths. They're basically Karens, so I'll call them as such. These Karens fail to realize that they get a privileged experience just because of their gender, and so they lack perspective on how hard it is for most guys to gain dating success. So when they see certain reels of me critiquing guys' profile, some of them get triggered and disagree with me just for the sake of it, and not because they actually have something better to say. For instance, I made this reel giving feedback to every single pic in this 20-year-old's profile. My point for his first pic, word for word, is that this pet shot with a meek pose and smile gives off innocent vibes, not appealing and masculine ones. This lady says my first point is BS because she finds him cute for his age and doesn't think he should change his boyish vibes. Let's remind ourselves that this guy is asking for feedback because his profile isn't doing as well as he wants it to. I get ratioed here, which is whatever, because clearly people don't like guys like me that keep it real, but her argument starts to fall apart as we keep going. He's literally getting cooked on the apps, but imagine being told by someone who's not in your target market to keep being yourself. Being himself is what led him to ask for help in the first place. Dude is 20 but wants a good dating life, so I'm sure being told to keep being a boy is not helpful. But then this lady's next response is straight up whack. She thinks that if he just becomes this masculine and mature man that I mentioned, he'll be drowning in kitty and end up disappointing women he meets for not actually being like that, and that the better approach is to niche down hard and take less matches. Bruh, that is not how things work around here. It's very clear that a lot of women have an easy time getting things set up through dating apps, but then expect men to have it the same way. Hell no! You need to play a complete game to have dating success through online dating. Fixing your pictures is only the beginning. And then she straight up says that men would have much more success if they followed women's advice on this. So let me get this straight. This guy already put himself out there, didn't get the results he wanted, asked for feedback, and he should accept BS like this from one person who finds him cute. That's crazy. And to close things off, she says I'm basically on some alpha male shit. Yeah, telling a 20-year-old to look a bit more masculine instead of innocent so he can stop getting killed on the apps is alpha male garbage. I had this other Karen comment on this reel I made about a girl who can't get any dates because she is too forthcoming on her profile. She thinks her approach is fine as girls like her get a bunch of matches and they should be more vocal in setting hard boundaries up front. and that it's a male or personal problem that we're taking offense to this. She is literally asking for feedback because she's doing too much. And then this Karen straight up says that maybe this would be easier if men had the same problem on these dating apps. Yeah, that'll do it. And then we have this other Karen who showed up on this reel about a guy who mentioned getting no matches in a month. She straight up says attraction is subjective. Nothing about his photos are an issue. To which I simply retort, if that was the case, why does he claim to have 0 matches? Even a toddler could draw the line that bad photos get you bad results on dating apps if that's all you put in. But this Karen has as many brain cells as this dude has matches because her response to that question is, because I wanted to make content. I'm dead. She's saying this guy has no matches because I made this reel. My friggin' sides, man. This Karen's argument is as follows. She thinks attraction is subjective and she claims that this guy is conventionally attractive. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing and I'm just making things out to be a non-issue. You literally cannot be saying these things when the man himself has explicitly stated his results and is asking for feedback. It's another case of, I don't think he's unattractive, so that invalidates all of your criticism. That's crazy. And I found another one who basically had the same sentiment on TikTok. I find him cute, therefore nothing is wrong with his profile, and my criticism is actually nonsense. This is straight up gaslighting. I'd be pissed as hell if my lack of results was used as a way to virtue signal with useless advice. The last group of people to mention are the doomer guys who call dating apps scams and think modern dating is rigged. They're right about things not being fair and such, but these guys have a sense of entitlement that it shouldn't be this way for them. But upon closer inspection, you'll find that it's always some guy who can't even take a good picture of himself that comes up with these loser takes. We got a guy saying that my critique doesn't matter because girls only look at your first photo for half a second and then decide. I can see why he feels that way with a mirror selfie where he looks disinterested. We got a guy saying that the problem is that there's too many men on dating apps and to not believe what I'm saying as if it were an agenda or something. The dating market is a capitalistic one, not a socialist one. Become a better option, and you won't even care that there's thousands if not millions of other men in competition with you. Guys like this are insignificant to guys like me who have their shite together. There was a guy who took time to type up a full paragraph insulting me and my features personally because I was being high and mighty giving all of this feedback. I did try to clap back, but he wouldn't stop responding, so I decided to just block him and move on. Bro then decided to make 2 accounts back to back to just keep ranting, and he said that he actually hates me. You are one sad, strange little man. Then we have this guy who's clearly projecting on the no matches in a month reel. Again, the guy in the reel has clearly given the apps a shot with his own input and got nothing out of it. This guy is trying to shame my criticisms when I just point out clearly that these individualities got nothing. And this response allows me to expose this guy's reasoning behind his messages. He's clearly someone who's felt the need to pay the apps for a better chance. But just because these dating app companies are hard pushing their subscriptions doesn't mean you have to buy them. I recognize this because I am a sensible person who can see the bigger picture. But unfortunately, guys who do terrible on the apps don't have this perspective. And then there's the guys who basically think you need to fit a certain mold to be successful on the apps. They say you need to be anywhere between the top 10 to 1% man, that you need to be Henry Cavill, and that you need to be 6 feet, make 6 figures, and be packing 6 inches. Well, I'm a 5'7" Asian guy who figured things out, so I'll take whatever percent these guys say you need to be and thank them for calling me one. That's right, I'm apparently a top 1% man, baby. After wading through all the noise, insults, and cope from these different groups, I've realized a few key things about the state of online dating discourse. First off, the black pillars are a lost cause. These guys are drowning in their own negativity and refuse to improve anything unless it involves going under the knife. No amount of logic or real-world examples will shake them out of their doomer spiral. And I have infinitely more respect for the guys who ask for feedback on Reddit over these mofos. These guys are no longer worth my time and energy. Then we've got the Karens, the self-appointed authorities on what men should and shouldn't do in dating. They mistake personal preference for universal truth. I think he's cute, so there's no problem with his profile. Men should just be themselves and everything will work out. No, that is not how this works. They don't grasp how different dating is for men and dismiss reality as alpha male nonsense. Most women get matches just by existing and most men have to earn them. Ignoring that keeps guys stuck in failure. These are the types of women I learned to avoid once I started getting results. As for the doomers, these guys have some valid points about the dating landscape being tough, but they're also their own worst enemies. They want things to be fair, but instead of adapting, they choose to complain. They'll blame the dating apps, the ratios, and modern women, but never themselves. They don't realize that in a competitive market, you either improve or get left behind. And a lot of these guys aren't even trying to improve. They just want to be mad at the system. I'm not going to be a part of it. If you really think about it, guys that want to do better or are doing well enough with dating don't have the time or energy to make loser comments. Women that actually want you to do better agree with my feedback instead of getting triggered by it, and are more likely to be attractive and agreeable if you can match with them. Hell, a quarter of my followers are women. It should be quite obvious that nihilistic or narcissistic people give terrible advice and are probably terrible people as well. But let me be clear, if you're genuinely struggling with dating, it's not all doom and gloom. There is a way forward. No, you don't need to be 6'4" with a jawline carved by the gods. You just need to be better than the next guy. Most men aren't even putting in 10% effort, as exemplified with the amount of feedback I have for each of these profiles I reviewed. If you can take decent pictures, present yourself well, and develop some charisma, you'll get ahead of more than half of all men out there and be able to punch above your weight. And for the record, I'm not some naturally gifted outlier. I'm a 5'7" Asian dude who recognized the game. If you're naturally attractive, good for you. You don't have to try as hard. But if you're not and refuse to approach in real life, the easiest competitive advantage is having better pictures. That's how you win on dating apps. At the end of the day, this content blew up because it resonates with a lot of people. Most people are frustrated with the way things are, but it also goes to show how valuable my knowledge is. I don't sugarcoat things and say what is needed to cut through the BS. For every hateful or doomer comment I get, there's exponentially more likes, shares, saves, and follows. The biggest lesson for me that has come from this influx of attention is that I need to stop engaging with the nonsense. Initially, I went into the comments to counter bad takes and clap back at irrational messages. But some people are so senseless that they are willing to drag you down to hell with them, and there's always a new hateful comment right around the corner. So I've learned to let go of this feeling, and now I literally just ignore or delete senseless comments. The best reel got over 1.7 million views and more than 1,000 comments. And I've learned to let people in there just argue amongst themselves to preserve my own sanity. So in the end, if you're actually trying to get better dating results, these types of people that I described are the ones you'll learn to ignore if you want to cut through the BS. They just want to drag you down, feed you with misinformation, and make you feel bad for trying to improve yourself because they don't want to. But that's just the beginning. If you devote yourself enough to excel at it, you get to overachieve and be in a position to talk your shite like me. I understood my faults, took accountability for them, and worked harder than anyone else to get what I wanted. There's no reason for me to entertain any of this when I'm completely past it. It's up to you if you want to be part of the noise or someone that gets through it. Anyways, I appreciate you for making it this far, so you should like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment so I don't get cooked by the algorithm. Join the Discord and check out the link below if you want to book a shoot and get one-on-one coaching. Stay based, y'all, and bye-bye.